Well, my first guest of the week is the man who could be Prime Minister in 12 days' time. Anthony Albanese, thank you for your time.
Thank you very much, Alan. Thanks for having me on the program, and congratulations.
Thank you. It's a big project, I've got to tell you. Can I just ask you a personal question? You've been in Parliament for 26 years. You were at one time Deputy Prime Minister under Rudd's second term. You've been Minister for Infrastructure, a Minister for Regional Development and Local Government, and then Deputy Prime Minister under Kevin Rudd's second coming. Why is it that people say they don't seem to know you? Is it your fault or the public's fault?
No, I think some of that is just spin from the government. But it is true that during the pandemic, we had unprecedented circumstances. You had state premiers, chief ministers, you had chief health officers doing press conferences every single day. And what we were during the pandemic was constructive. We weren't out there trying to do look at me approaches of just opposing for opposition's sake. We were constructive, and that meant that the bandwidth, if you like, for myself as the Labor leader and the opposition leader was less. If we had been destructive, if we had have been just there carping at the sidelines, but we weren't. We were constructive. We were putting forward constructive ideas like wage subsidies. We were concerned about the rollout of the vaccine to make sure it happened earlier, and that meant that we didn't get as much attention as we would have
All right, well,
otherwise.
let's just cover this, because as Prime Minister, you would represent the nation around the world, and even though they might dislike the Morrison government, they're genuinely worried, it seems, about Anthony Albanese being Australia's face to the world. How do you address that?
Well, I'll tell you one thing I wouldn't do, Alan, which is to leak private text messages from other national leaders, from our allies. And that occurred, of course, with Emmanuel Macron, with Mr Morrison, and I think that will cause world leaders to really pause in their engagement with him. And that was of real concern. I have represented Australia at the first ever G20 meeting. I know President Biden, I know our allies well, and I have met Prime Minister Johnson. I wouldn't say that I know him well, but I met him when he was leader of the London Council. But I've engaged in international forums for a considerable period of time as a senior minister in the former Labor government.
Look, it's just a curiosity, I don't want to dwell on this, but how could someone, people are asking and writing to me, how could someone sitting in Parliament for 26 years, sitting at the dispatch box opposite a government boringly repeating in order to seek advantage an unemployment rate of 4%, a cash rate of 0.1%, and then you didn't know that either? Do you understand that worries people?
No, Alan, one of the things that I'll do, and my opponent will never do, if there's a mistake, I'll fess up. It was a human thing to happen. I did have a memory lapse at that particular point in time. I fessed up. I took responsibility for it. What they're worried about is who has a plan for Australia's future. And the truth is that this government is struggling with the present, let alone having a plan for the future.